Welcome. Welcome back, guys. It's great to be in front of you this morning, to have this window of opportunity for about 10 minutes to go through something which I think is relevant to everybody's life. And in my experience lately, I thought it would be a timely reminder to have a conversation around happiness. I'm going to use a little bit of technical jargon here, that when I work with clients, I notice that when I chunk them up in the conversation to their highest point, if you like, of what they'd like to desire in their lives at that one time, it generally comes to happiness and peace. And I find that quite interesting. So I wonder would it be of value this morning if we had a discussion around happiness and peace. Did you get something out of that? Would you be prepared to share perhaps something in your life or with those around you? Yeah? Great. Wonderful. So I remember when I was a little boy, I'm just going to share a little story with you. When I was a young lad, I'd go to my dad and I'd say, Dad, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to be? And he'd go, you know what, son? I really just want you to be happy. And I thought, okay. And then I go back to the next year, I said, Dad, what am I going to do with my life? You know, at school they're saying you're going to do something. You know, what am I going to do? He said, son, I just want you to be happy. So I'll get back to that later on. And the really beneficial thing around what we're going to discuss today, it's going to give you the opportunity to have some happiness in your life, to get a little bit happier, but allow you to move forward and have some more potential. Because when I was researching some of this around happiness, as opposed to the concept of happiness, what I found really interesting was there was over 12 million prescriptions for Prozac is written out every year in this country. 12 million. Now, that I thought that was just a phenomenal amount for people to take medication to get happy. Yeah? It's legal. Absolutely. It's legal. So, for that purpose, gentlemen, I want to be able to discuss this with you this morning. So, before I go any further, I want to be able to share with you why a lot of people are unhappy. And there's a little bit of science behind it, and there's a little bit of the psychology and also the chemistry, because at the end of the day, it's a biological entity, if you like, to be happy. So I call it the science of the 3 F's. Okay? And most people in their life are one of these. They fight, they become defensive, flight, to run away, or freeze, to do nothing. Now, this is really interesting when I started researching this here, is that people in their lives are going around doing this, and they're doing it without actually knowing what's going on in their life. This was great about 1 million years ago when we were being chased by saber-toothed tigers and running around in the countryside, you know, trying to keep ourselves alive. And it's great today to a point where you see it with children who don't have the ego developed yet, where they'll go to run out in the street before the age of 3 years of age. And we're shouting at them, come back from the road. But as they get older, they know themselves that they can jump out of the way of a car. So therefore it keeps us alive, and it's about protecting us, and it's about keeping us safe. However, if you're in this constant state of fight, flight, or freeze, and don't even know it, what sort of life are you going to be living? Any idea, anybody? What's it going to bring?
Not progressive. It's going to be reactive.
It's going to have a constant state of reacting to everything around you, constantly reacting to every situation. To me, that's exhausting. Absolutely exhausting way of living your life, as opposed to having an understanding of this here and responding. If you ever notice, if you go to brake in the car, you do it automatically. If you had to go through the process of braking to break it down, you'd end up hitting the car in front of you. Okay? So the response is immediate. However, from a psychological point of view, if you were able to see it for what it was, to slow it, or what it is, to slow it down, to back up and wait a little bit of time, then you'd find that the rational thought follows up behind it. Does that make sense? So what I mean by that is, if you look at leaders around the world, and particularly I always remember when the Twin Towers had a crash with the aeroplanes, And I remember President Bush being filmed, sitting in front with the children. And I remember one of the CIA guys, whoever it was, went up to him, advisors, and whispered in his ear. You could see him physically going white. That was actually him having a physiological response to the fear. He sat there, he didn't react, he waited, and then he responded after a few minutes and got up and took the necessary action. Had he jumped up and jumped around and waved his hands, that would have been of no benefit to anybody. I trust you'd agree with that. So I see a lot of my clients doing this here. The other F word, in overwhelm.
What's that word? Forget.
I'll leave that to your imagination, Michael. So you've got fight, flight, freeze, or the other F word. As we're going along, this survival mechanism that we have in us is actually, it's hardwired into every human being. You're never going to get away from it. It just will not go away. So it keeps us alive. But constantly turned on, it's going to leave you with this feeling that they believe that this is their life. And they're constantly in a state of stress, constantly in a state of anxiety. Do you ever meet that person you work with in the office? There's always an issue. There's always a problem. There's always something going on. And yet you meet that person who's the CEO or the general manager of the organization who's calm, who's collected. It's like the duck on the top of the water. They're paddling furiously underneath, on the outside it's all very calm. Who would you rather be around? The duck. Who would you rather spend time with? Who would you rather move forward with in life? Who would you rather trust on a subconscious level going into business with? I think the answers speak for themselves. Let me give you some fear examples before I give you the strategy of what's involved with having, from my experience, been around successful people. Some of the fears: fear of failure, fear of not belonging, not being part of the group, not being part of B&I, fear of not being loved, fear of not being enough. And you are always enough. In fact, with my clients, I always come from the premise that they're already successful and they have all the resources within them. They've just become disconnected from them. A fear of loss, a fear of the future or unknown. And this is huge with clients. A fear of the future and a fear of the unknown, because they don't know what they don't know. And they're afraid to step into the unknown of where they're going to go and what's going to happen, because they actually want their ducks to line up before they take that first step. Thank you. Cultivating the happiness strategy. The people that I spend time with, enjoy spending time with, tend to have these things in their life. Number one, they're in a state of gratitude. Because from a science perspective, fear and gratitude cannot coexist. So when you find yourself in the office or at home today, and you start to get that fearful sensation, because you will have a bodily reaction, because your body's always giving you feedback. You're tired, you're thirsty, you need to use the bathroom, you're hot, you sweat, you're cold. Your body's constantly giving you feedback. Tune into it and listen to it. They're always optimistic. Do you know there's a chemical match for every one of our moods? I find that fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So you can create it by a choice, by saying, today I choose being happy. Now, is it going to happen straight away? Probably not. But if you go to the gym for 3 to 6 to 12 months and work that muscle, do you think you'll have some sort of physical reaction? Absolutely you will. So you've got to keep working it. Doing it once is not going to work. Doing it several times repeatedly. Proactivity. They participate in their own destiny. And I love this one. I love it. It's a choice to move forward, to participate in what you want to achieve in your life. Too many people stay in the fear and go, it's too hard, and they don't even know. Number 4, sense of purpose, a connection to others. Know where they're going. They've got a bit of a mojo happening. They know where they're going. You can hear it in their language. If you can language it, you can have it. I love doing some stuff with Rotary, using the skills from my background as a chef, going in, helping other chefs, give our time for Rotary. In fact, I work with one chef, and in 8 years, he has contributed $1.25 million in 8 years to charities around Australasia. I love hanging out with people like that. In fact, I just did that in a weekend in Camberwell, and it just gives me an enormous amount of joy and satisfaction. They smile more often. Yeah, walk down the street today and smile at somebody and see what the reaction is. Yeah, because subconsciously when you're smiling, it's reflection from the inside. Oh, a beautiful smile. Yeah, thank you. So guys, habitually do what makes you feel good. And that is a strategy for happiness. Because if you're focusing on what you don't do well, or you're focusing on fear, then you cannot have happiness. You cannot have it. Because the science says that if you focus on it from left brain and right brain, then you can have the happiness. Can I just pause there and ask, has anybody got any questions?
Doesn't a lot of this come down to attitude though, John?
Pardon me?
Doesn't a lot of this come down to attitude, your attitude itself?
Well, attitude, gratitude, altitude, anything with tude at the end of it is generally a good choice.
You see people with glass half full and glass half empty. The person under the way they look at that glass reflects where they're standing.
Yeah, thanks, John. The other thing is, I find really interesting with that is that's people's view on life. There's 7 billion people on the planet, and everybody's got a different view. But if you choose to come from the view from proactivity or a good attitude or gratitude and see the good in things, you're going to be in a state of mind that's far more productive in what you want to achieve in your life. As simple as it is, because let's face it, we all live busy lives. We're all busy doing other things in our lives. Sometimes when we stop and we pull back and we have a look at it for what it is and be grateful for what we actually have, you create that physiological response. You create that chemical response in your body, which is why I love running, because it gives me a chemical response. I may not enjoy the process, but I enjoy the result. Get that buzz. Please check out my website, www.sonascg.com. Everything's on the website there. Everything from what I do, how I do it, to why I do it. And also there's some social evidence and testimonials there. Yeah, thank you, Michael. Why do I do it? Yeah, great question, Michael. I was very unhappy for many years, Michael. I was very unhappy. I was good at what I was doing, but I knew there had to be something bigger. There had to be something more. There was a physiological response, a feeling of unfulfillment. And I found myself just doing things for the sake of doing things based out of fear. Fear of not being part of the clan, the group, fear of not being good enough, fear of not being loved. And when I started delving into this journey and started understanding myself and where I want to go and what I want to achieve, I realized that it wasn't about me, it was something bigger, and I want to contribute. And since I've started this journey, and ups and downs, Michael, like anybody's journey, but it's the journey and not the destination. It's been quite extraordinary. Answer your question? Yeah, thank you. Guys, I'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate having the opportunity to come here. In fact, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here this morning. John Sharkey from Sonas Consulting Group. Thank you.